This is a short video to introduce you to the EquatiO Chrome extension if you haven't used it yet. It's not intended to be a how-to or a tutorial. It's just kind of an overview of the features that are available to help you decide if it's something that you would be interested in. It currently works with all Google Suite products, docs, sheets, slides, forms, drawings, and since it's a Chrome extension, you have to be in Chrome to use it. I'm just going to create a new blank Google document, just a Google Doc, but you can use it with any of the other Suite products as I mentioned. To start out with, you can just type in any normal thing that you would want, any sequence of text or whatever that you normally do. You can insert pictures. It's just a regular Google document. But then, when you want to insert some math, once you've added the EquatiO extension, if you go up to the upper right-hand corner in this place that's called the extension shelf, there will be a little blue diamond. This is the EquatiO logo. Just click on that, and the EquatiO toolbar appears at the bottom. One thing that's kind of nice before you even begin is that you can change a few settings to customize the input and the output to what you're doing. If you're making slides, for example, if you go to Options and you go to Math Options, you can choose extra large or extra large for the output size to make it easy to see on a screen. If you're using just regular text in like a worksheet or a quiz or something like that, you might want to choose regular or small so it blends in better with the font size that's in the rest of the document. And you can set the prediction settings for math, so it just can predictively see what you're typing in math. And I also have it set for chemistry because I teach chemistry. There are several entry methods for getting math into the doc, and I'm going to use each of them to insert the same equation into the doc just to show you how they all work. The equation I'm going to use is y equals 4x squared plus 7/3. The first one I'm going to use here is the equation editor. This is the same equation editor that Google Docs always uses. And you have the buttons down here in the lower right-hand corner of the screen so you can access the features of that equation editor. First of all, just start typing, and it's pretty good at predicting what you want to do. So I'm going to type y equals and 4, and now I know I'm going to want the x squared next. So I'm going to click my buttons and do the x to the a, and then come back in here and change that to squared, and then plus. And now I know I want a fraction, so I'll go back to my buttons and I'll click the fraction feature, and then I'll just change the denominator to 3, change the numerator to 7, and now I have my math in there. And I will click Insert Math, and it creates an image. So that's a picture now, and it pastes it right where I was in the document. Another way that you can enter it is through LaTeX. If you're familiar with LaTeX, if you aren't familiar with LaTeX and you do a lot of math in documents, it might be worthwhile learning the basics. It's pretty easy to use. If I click on that, and it asks me to input LaTeX in the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, it's going to update what the picture looks like as I add things. So I'll go y equals, and then I'll go 4x up caret 2 to get the 4x squared, and then plus slash frac 7, 3, and there's my math. You can see on the right hand side, that's what I want. So I click Insert Math, and it creates that image for me. Another one, this is pretty handy, might be better for you than me because I don't have very good handwriting, and I'm also not using a tablet right now, but it does do handwriting recognition. First of all, I got to get rid of this math that's already there. And in handwriting recognition, I'll just go to my little trackpad here and input y equals 4x squared plus 7 over 3. And it worked. It recognizes what the math is. It's got a little extra dot in there. I think I made a stray mark. If I click Insert Math Now, it again puts in that same equation, but it's got that little extra piece there that I would have avoided if I was better at writing by hand on a touchpad. Here's another interesting one. It has voice recognition, speech input. I don't think I've ever used this before. I'm going to give it a try. Y equals 4x squared plus 7 over 3. That worked really well. I'm kind of surprised by that. I click Insert Math, and I'm assuming it goes in there. And now it's getting hard to see, but yeah, there it is. So I have 4 different input methods. Now here's something that's really cool. As of last month, you can now use Desmos to put graphs into Google Suite using EquatiO. So I'll enter the same equation that we were using only as a graph by using Desmos. So there's a little button here for Graph Editor, and that actually just opens up Desmos. So if you're used to using Desmos, this is just what you'd expect it to be. I'm going to insert our expression as y equals 4x squared plus 7 on 3. And there's the expression, and you can see that when you look over at the graph that there's the little parabola that is mentioned there. I'm going to click Insert Graph, and there's my graph. It pops into the form. Now here's something that's even cooler. If I click on this thing and then go back to my editor, if you're not familiar with Desmos, this is one of the coolest things about Desmos. I'll take my 4, my constant 4, that coefficient, and I'm going to just change that to m. And I'm going to take my 7/3, and instead of 7/3, I'm going to change that to b to make it a variable. And then underneath you can see it says add sliders, so I'm going to add sliders. And now I can adjust the coefficient that makes my parabola wider or narrower. And I can also adjust the focal point of that parabola by changing that slider to b. So now I'll click Insert Graph, and it updates it, and there's my graph. Okay, so now imagine that I'm making a quiz and I want to have 4 or 5 different forms. Here's what I can do with my document now. I can just go to File, make a copy, and then once the new copy is there, I click on that picture, open EquatiO, and click Extract Math. There's my graph. I just adjust the slider, adjust the other slider, click Insert Graph, and I just made a unique problem for a different form of the test. And I can do that so fast. I can make 4, 5, 6 different forms, or I can make 4, 5, 6 different problems using the same format by just sliding the sliders around, which is really cool. Also with Desmos, you have the ability to enter discrete data, like data from an experiment. So if you're a science teacher, you can click Table, and you can put like 2, 3, 4, 5 maybe for X values, and maybe the Y values would be 4, 9, 16, 25, let's say. And then you can adjust the scale so that the points all appear. You can see that, you know, that's a parabola, and then you can do linear regression or talk about the shape of the points or whatever you want to do there too. So this is, I think, a really potentially very useful feature of Chrome that can be applied to Google Docs if you are interested. I'll be happy to help you get started too if you run into some questions and you want to use it. Hope this helps.